Not sure if I want to support the recall of Mayor Garcia because who are we going to replace him with? And God forbid we get somebody even worse. First off, some people saying this, they have, I think, some other agenda.
So I wouldn't discourage anyone from trying to recall the mayor. Me personally, as a resident and a voter, I'm just curious who I would vote for if he was recalled.
Look, Mama didn't raise no fools. Don't tell me that you're not discouraging people from recalling Mayor Garcia. You're just curious about who will replace him. Dude, you just endorsed Cindy Allen, who's endorsed by Mayor Robert Garcia. Like, that's Cindy's biggest endorsement. She's also endorsed by the Long Beach Police Officers Association. So, you're being, I think, a little bit disingenuous because you're not on the fence about recalling Mayor Garcia. You're in line with the status quo. You don't want to recall the guy. You're in bed with the very people who endorse Mayor Garcia. So when I hear that question from people like that, it's in one ear and out the other. You've already chosen your side. You just don't have the guts to go ahead and state your position and just own it. For everybody else who genuinely has this question and is not coming with some political angle, I say this. Long Beach is in a toxic, unhealthy relationship with Mayor Robert Garcia. He has lied to us several times. He has made promises to us that he has not kept. He's like a dad that keeps telling his kids, I'm gonna come to your game, but never comes. He's like the spouse that keeps lying to their partner. He's lied to us. And he's given our hard-earned money to people that have paid him to lie to us. This is a toxic relationship for us to say, I'm not sure if I should leave Robert because I can't do any better. I'm not sure if I could find anyone better. Look, I'm sure Robert's a nice enough guy, but he's not so great that we should sacrifice our own self-worth for him. At some point, you got to stand up and say enough is enough. I'm out of here. I will not stay in this relationship. It's unhealthy. It's toxic. I deserve better. Long Beach deserves better.
It's quite a bit that goes into that. And while I may not necessarily support the petition one way or another, I would need more answers personally before I decide whether I would sign it.
We need some kind of like citywide intervention because what's going on here is like bad. This is bad. Oh, I'm just so petrified. Who's going to replace Robert? What are you talking about? That's the problem with Long Beach. In Long Beach, there's a selection process and then an election process. Robert was selected for us. Bob Foster and Beverly O'Neill stand up with Robert in the middle and say, vote for him. And so what do? We vote for him. We didn't choose Robert as a replacement. Robert was chosen for us. It's time that we break that mold and make choices for ourselves. Make the choice that he leaves. And secondly, make the choice who replaces him.
And while I may not necessarily support the petition one way or another, I would need more answers personally before I decide whether I would sign it.
But these people placating the fears, they're all about the status quo. All that leads to is more support of the status quo. So someone else or some other group of elites can come and tell us, well, we've selected this guy or this woman to vote for, and we think you should vote for her. And by the way, the Police Officers Association is going to pay for it. That's how we got into this mess in the first place. It's because of thinking like this.
I wouldn't discourage anyone from trying to recall the mayor. Me personally, as a resident and a voter, I'm just curious who I would vote for if he was recalled.
You see, this sort of thinking focuses on personality instead of principles. Who's going to replace Robert? No, we don't need to focus on the who. We need to focus on the principles that we care about. When I talk about recalling Mayor Garcia, I talk about principles. I'm talking about downtown gentrification. I'm talking about him caring more about his campaign donors, such as the Police Officers Association, which leads to policies by our police department that puts our residents in harm's way. It creates an unsafe environment for Black and brown people, which means it's an unsafe environment for everybody. Those are principles. If we recall the mayor based on principles like environmental justice, like gentrification, like the Long Beach Police Officers Association and their power over our electeds, if we base the recall on principles, then any other politician that will run will have to answer to those principles that we established, that we selected, not on their terms, but on our terms. And we will be able to hold them accountable. So stop focusing on the personality and focus on the principles. Because we can always put a personality in office. But if we do not have a core set of principles that are moral, that are equitable, and that create the sort of city that we want, then that is the moment that we have lost. And this is how we've ended up with a guy like Robert Garcia. So when you hear stuff like this,
so I wouldn't discourage anyone from trying to recall the mayor. Me personally, as a resident and a voter, I'm just curious who I would vote for if he was recalled.
No honest politicians were harmed in the making of this video.